If you've ever walked into a room and your stomach dropped because you realize that you're the only one, the only immigrant, the only Black person, the only woman, the only one with an accent, the only one who did not grow up here, this video is for you because I'm going to tell you what America taught me about being the only one. And this is not the cute motivational version, it's the real version. The version where you're standing in a room full of people who look nothing like you, who talk nothing like you, and sometimes they don't know what to do with your confidence, your intelligence, and your presence. And before anybody even speaks to you in those rooms, your mind starts speaking for them. And you start saying to yourself, they probably don't want someone like me. They're going to judge me. They're going to judge my background, or they're going to judge my accent, or they're going to assume that I'm not qualified because I got my education from a developed country. Or you're thinking, they're probably thinking that, oh, she's going to embarrass herself. And then you say, you know what? I shouldn't even try. Let me tell you what I want to fix today. I don't want you disqualifying yourself before the opportunity even gets a chance to say yes. Because a lot of times, the thing that stops us isn't the system, it's not the room, it's not the job, it's not the school where you got your education, it's not even the application. It is that voice in your head that says, don't even bother. Don't even bother. And don't get me wrong, I am not saying that bias isn't real. Oh, it is. I'm saying don't let someone's bias convince you to walk away from your own door. And that is what this video is all about. And if you stay with me, I'm going to share stories about my life, and I'm going to give you a playbook so that you can use it the next time that you feel you're the only one. Don't let fear reject you before the door even answers. Let's talk about the moment. The moment where you walk into a space and you immediately start scanning the space. And you do that, it's not because you're paranoid, it's not because you're negative, but because you're an immigrant, and immigrants learn to assess environments because you're looking for safety, you're looking for familiarity, and you're looking for someone that you can read. And when you don't see it, your body shifts. Your shoulders starts to get tight, your voice gets softer, you start smiling more than you need to, and you become extra polite. And sometimes you start over explaining. It's crazy because nobody even did anything yet, and you're doing all those things, but your brain is pulling from old experiences that you had, experiences like being underestimated, being laughed at, being corrected because of the way that you pronounce certain words in English, being treated like your question was stupid, or being made to feel like your presence is actually an inconvenience. So you start shrinking. And I want to tell you something clearly. Shrinking doesn't protect you. Shrinking only delays you, because the world doesn't reward invisible. The world rewards people who show up, who speak, who apply, and who claim a space. And what America taught me about being the only one is that you can either shrink in the room or you can use the room. You can treat it like a threat or you can treat it like a training ground. That is the mindset that changed my life. Being the only one doesn't mean you don't belong. Sometimes it means you're early. And I'm going to keep repeating this because I needed to land. Do not let someone's bias convince you to walk away from an opportunity, because bias tends to show up in two ways. Sometimes it shows up in the way that people assume things about you because of where they know that you're from, or because of your accent, because of how you look, because of how you dress, because you're the only one. And the other way that bias tends to show up, and that one is actually a sneaky one, it's because sometimes nobody even said anything, but your mind is repeating what you actually heard before. And if you're not careful, you'll do the system's job for it. You'll reject yourself in advance. And I've seen this too many times, especially with immigrants. People would say things like, those jobs aren't for people like us, or your education doesn't count here, or they're going to pick someone who grew up here. Don't waste your time, or you'll be the only one, and this is going to be very uncomfortable, or, the classic, you'll be embarrassed. And the danger here is that when you hear that long enough, you actually start to believe it. But you know what? My life is proof that the opposite is also true. You have nothing to lose by trying. If you apply and then they say no, guess what? You're still alive. You're still you. You still get up and go home. You still keep building. But if you do not apply, you continue to live under a fake no for the rest of your life. Only take no from someone who has the power to say yes. Let me take you back to 1999. There was a job fair. A friend told me about it, and she was supposed to drive me there because she was the only one with a car. I was ready for this job fair. I had my resume ready. I was dressed. I was prepared mentally. And the day of the job fair, she backed out. She didn't want to go anymore. And when she called me, she also started discouraging me, not in a dramatic way, in that, Webley, I'm being realistic way. You know what I mean? She said things like, you know what? Don't bother, because I don't even think that it's worth it. They're not going to look for people like us. Or, in her case, she's like, I'm not going to leave my bed for this. And I remember thinking, I'm already dressed, girl. I'm I'm already ready. So what do I have to lose? So I said to her, just give me the information. I'll check the bus schedule, and I'll figure out how to get there. Actually, I checked the bus and the train schedule to figure out how to get there. And here's what my mindset was. Worst case scenario, I stay where I am. I continue to do the job that I was doing. That was the worst case scenario. I wasn't going to die. I wasn't going to lose my family. I wasn't going to lose my worth. If they say no, my life was still my life. So I went by myself because I was also very curious. I wanted to see what companies will be there. I wanted to see what kinds of jobs existed, and I wanted to see what was actually possible for me besides that department store job that I had at the moment. And you know what happened? I got the job. I got the job, and the pay was way more than what I was making in the department store. Way more. And the part that still gets me is this. When I came back and I told my friend that I got the job, she was shocked. Then she tried to go to the next job fair they had, I think 2 weeks later, and they did offer her something, but by that time, all the high paying positions, they were gone. That window had closed. Those jobs were already taken. And that's when what America taught me about being the only one really hit me. Opportunities don't wait for fear to get comfortable. And I want you to take that personally, because some of you are sitting on an opportunity right now, And you're waiting. You're waiting. You're waiting not because you cannot do it, but because you're scared to be the only one. And I'm here to remind you, the only thing worse than being uncomfortable in a new room is staying stuck in the old room forever. Worst case, you stay where you are. Best case, your whole life changes. Now, let me name the most common fake no's that immigrants continue to live under, because when you hear it enough times, it starts sounding like the truth. And here they are. They won't hire me, or they won't hire someone like me. My accent is going to ruin it for me, or my education from my country is inferior, or you know what? They know better than me because they're American, or I'll be the only one, and this is going to be an uncomfortable situation for me. Or I'm not ready yet. Maybe I need more education. I'm going to embarrass myself, or I don't want to be rejected. So let's just save myself the embarrassment. Or I don't have the right connections, or I should wait until I'm feeling a little bit more confident, or until my English sounds better. Here's the problem. Fake knows they feel safe because they protect you from rejection, but they also protect you from success. Because if you never apply, you never get rejected, but you also never get selected. This mindset shift is not, I'm guaranteed to win. The mindset shift is actually, I refuse to let fear pre-reject me. The most expensive rejection is the one you give yourself. Let me repeat that. The most expensive rejection is the one you give yourself. Now let's talk about that education thing that keeps coming up, because this is a big one for immigrants, because we invest a lot in our education, and people will say directly or indirectly that the education from your country is inferior, and that because of where you came from, you don't know better than them, or what they learned is superior than what you learned. And here's what makes this dangerous. If you buy into that lie, you will not even try. You'll disqualify yourself. You won't apply for the job. You won't apply for the program. You won't apply for that college. You will tell yourself, I am not on that level. And I want to say this clear. Your education is not worthless because it did not happen in America. Your intelligence did not start when you landed here. You learned to think. You learned to solve problems. You learned to adapt. And if you're an immigrant, you have something a lot of people do not. You've learned how to survive uncertainty. So no, don't let anybody convince you that your foundation is inferior. Sometimes the truth is much simpler than that. Some people are uncomfortable when they realize you're not as behind as they assumed. So they need a story where in that story, you're inferior. Do not accept that story. Just because someone doubts you doesn't mean you're not qualified. And here's a rule that has saved me over and over again. Always get your answer from the person who has the power to say yes. Not from the friend who's scared, not from the family member projecting, not from the coworker who doesn't want you to rise, not from somebody who isn't even in the building, who's never worked in the building, or not somebody who doesn't have hiring power, or somebody who doesn't know what you are truly capable of. I don't want your no from people who cannot approve you. I want you to get it straight from the source. So apply. Knock on the door. Let the decision maker tell you no. Because even if it's a no, at least you got a real answer. A lot of people live their whole life under fake no's or fake answers, and that's not going to be your story. Don't let spectators decide your future. When I came to this country, I had two choices in college: BU or MIT. And I remember thinking, I want to study tech. I want to study something in tech because back then I just knew it. I knew that tech was going to play a big role in the future. And let me be clear, I'm talking the tech we had before, it was old school tech, okay? I'm talking DOS prompts, using prompts to do everything, everything, that era. But even when everything was so bulky at the time, I trusted my instinct. I didn't need everyone to understand why. I just needed to move. And that decision, it mattered because it opened a door to my first tech job. My first job in tech was programming ATM cards and key cards. That was my job. And when I got into the team that I was doing that job, guess what? I was the only woman in my team. I was the only Black person in my team. And I was the only immigrant in my team. Everybody else, they were white male. So, yes, I know what it feels like. I know the pressure of walking in and realizing, oh, I'm different here. And here's what I want you to understand: being the only one doesn't automatically mean you're unsafe. It often means that you're in a room where you're about to grow. And here's something else. My boss at the time, Steve, he was an amazing boss. Now, I'm not going to pretend that every day was perfect. It wasn't always a great team dynamic day to day, but every job is like that. Something important happened when I expressed at my job that I wanted to be in tech. They trained me. And you know why they trained me? Because they hated doing that job themselves. They were like, listen, Webley, if you want to do it, we'll train you. Because then they didn't have to do it anymore. They could focus on what they actually enjoyed doing. And with that, I learned a big lesson. I learned that sometimes your opening comes from a place that you don't even expect. Sometimes your opening, it comes because someone doesn't want to do that task anymore. But if you're smart, you'll see it for what it is: a paid opportunity to build skill. So I took the training. I took the training. I got the skill. I got the experience. And I just kept moving. Sometimes they train you because they don't want it, and you win anyways. Now, let's talk about what can happen when you're the only one, because this is what people don't say out loud. Sometimes you're not being evaluated fairly. Sometimes people, they just react to you, and they react to your confidence. They react to your intelligence. They react to your competence. They react to your existence. And they don't always know how to process you being phenomenal, your genius. So they might nitpick your words. They might act confused about what you just explained. They might even interrupt you when you're talking and claim that they don't understand your accent. They might act surprised that you actually know something. They will be tempted to give you extra feedback that no one else gets but you, or they move the goalpost on you. And if you're not careful, you're going to internalize that, and you'll start thinking, maybe I'm not that good. No. Sometimes you're dealing with someone else's insecurity. And what America taught me about being the only one is that you cannot let insecure people rewrite your story. You don't argue your worth. You just collect evidence, you keep your standard, and then you keep moving. I don't need to be liked. I just need my life to move forward. Now, here's something I put in my notes, and I want to say it again. As immigrants, when you come to this country, you're hungry and you see opportunities everywhere because there are so many opportunities in this country that we did not have in our home country. And that difference, it changes you. You start noticing things that people take for granted. And for me, one of the biggest shocks was libraries. Like, you mean to tell me that every town, every city has its own library? Free books, free learning, and I love books, you know? Let me put this into context for you. In Haiti, I had access to two libraries. One of those libraries was in my school, and I went to an all-girl Catholic school. So the collection of books was very limited. And the other library, that was it. So when I came here and I saw libraries everywhere, I was blown away because I understood, wait a minute, this country has resources, this country has access, this country has tools. And if I'm here, I am going to use them. So when someone tries to discourage you, you have to remember they are not seeing what you see. They're not hungry the way that you're hungry. They're not driven the way that you're driven. And what America taught me about being the only one is that you cannot let someone else's fear talk you out of what your spirit knows is possible. Immigrants don't just dream, we build what we find. Now, I want to touch on something that was also in my notes because it matters. With a high school diploma from Haiti, you're not going to get those opportunities. They'll say this like it's fact. And my response has always been, okay, I'm just going to let them tell me no. What do I have to lose? And guess what? I went to Boston University and MIT paid for it. So imagine if I had listened to a random voice telling me, don't bother. Imagine if I had accepted no from someone who couldn't even approve my application. That is why I repeat this. Always get your answer from the person who has the power to say yes, not from someone watching from the outside, not from someone who's not even in the room, not from someone who isn't signing the paper. If you're going to be rejected, let it be by the gatekeeper, not your fear. Now, I want to give you something that you can actually use because motivation is very nice, but in this case, strategy is better. Here's a playbook that I use. You can use it too for when you are feeling like you are the only one. The first thing you need to do is to name it. Say to yourself, I feel nervous because I am the only one, and it's okay. Name it so that you can reduce the power. And then, what is the worst case? The worst case is that you stay where you are. You don't lose your worth. You don't lose your intelligence. You don't lose your future. That's really the worst case scenario. Next, stop editing yourself because if you're translating in your head while you speak, you're doing double work. So speak clearly. You don't have to speak perfectly, just speak clearly and take your time. The next thing I want you to get in the habit of doing is to ask questions because questions put you in control. Ask questions like, what does success look like after a couple of months? What's the biggest problem that this job I'm thinking about needs solved? What do the best people in that job do differently? Okay. And then you want to leave with one proof. You want to leave with one connection, a follow up, or a next step because momentum will build your confidence. And then you also want to protect your vision. Stop sharing your goals with people who always discourage you. because not everybody deserves early access to your dreams. And practice your repetition. Get as much practice as possible. One application does not define you. 10 applications, they will build your courage. Confidence comes after repetition, not before. Now, I want to speak to immigrant women right now because I know what it feels like to carry multiple weights at once. Because I know you're trying to build a life, you're trying to be respected, you're trying to prove that you belong, you're trying to survive in a system that doesn't always make room for you. And I want to tell you something. You're, and I want to tell you something. You already did hard things. You left your country. You learned an entire new system. You survived the loneliness of starting over. So do not let one intimidating room convince you that you're not built for this. You did not come here to play small. And yes, being the only one can be uncomfortable. But discomfort is not a prophecy. Discomfort is not going to be a legacy. It doesn't mean that you're not supposed to be there. Sometimes it means that you're exactly where your growth is waiting to happen. You did not come this far to stop at the door. I'll close with this. If you are sitting on an opportunity right now, a job, a program, a school, a business move, you want to start your business on live, a pitch that you are considering making, a room that you have been avoiding, and you keep talking yourself out of it because you will be the only one. I want to say this out loud. What America taught me about being the only one is that I cannot shrink and expect at the same time to be seen. So go apply, go show up, go knock on the door. Let the decision maker tell you no. And if they tell you no, okay, at least you got a real answer. But do not let fear give you a fake answer, because people will often project their insecurities and their limitations on you. Do not let that happen, because you did the work. You earned it. You deserve it. Now go for it. I became the only one by refusing to stay in the crowd. If this hits you, tell me in the comments what door that you are knocking on this week and what opportunities that you were running away from because you feel that you're the only one. They're like, worst case scenario, I'll stay where I am. I got nothing to lose. And with that, my name is Webley. I am on this consistency journey to show up on YouTube for 100 days. Today was day 47. If you are on this consistency journey with me, thank you. I appreciate you. And if this is your first time finding out about me, remember to subscribe because I will be back tomorrow for day 48. Bye.